let's finish it off here while Aaron is ice for. I think Aaron is still there. He's just on the audio only at this point because he's frozen. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you guys. My video is just not connecting well, but I don't want to touch anything because at least you can hear me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it looks like you got a profile pickup. You know, it works.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Let's finish it off here with the Detroit Lions. And I started the show talking about tight ends, and now we're going to finish the show talking about tight ends. Is Tj Hawkinson worth it in the 5th round, Aaron?
Come on, I'm tired of talking about tight ends. Go to somebody else with tight ends. Tj Hawkinson, no. I'm done with Tj Hawkinson that early. The fact of the matter is last year I was so excited about Tj Hawkinson, and he let me down. It wasn't that he wasn't good enough or he didn't have good moments, but he just wasn't – he didn't crack that top tight end tier like I thought he was going to. So I'm kind of souring on Tj Hawkinson. I will come back to him if I can get him a good enough value, but I'm staying away that early. I'm not taking tight ends in the first 5 rounds unless it's Travis Kelce, Kyle Pitts, George Kittle, Mark Andrews. That's it.
I think I agree. And it's funny, the face that he froze on, that's the face that you would freeze on with talking about being disgusted with taking Tj Hawkinson in the 5th round. AJ, are you on board with that?
Yeah, I think he's in that on the other side of that gap. You know when you have to stop on the tight ends and have to get other players. And I think Tj Hawkinson falls just on the other side. I mean, just for perspective, last year in our Sherm League, we were looking at Tj Hawkinson and we watched that man drop to like the 11th or 12th round. And we were like, we can't took him. Not anymore. And so, I mean, why would I jump to the 5th round after last season? Sure, he was on pace to do well, but he never got there. So, yeah, I'll definitely wait on that.
The tight end position is legit that position where you have that top that tier drop after Darren Waller. It's like, okay, it's Andrews, Kittle, Pitts, Kelce, and then that's it. Then you can wait, and it's okay taking one super late. For Aaron's sake,
hate me for this. Real quick question then: where do you put Tyler Higbee on this upcoming season? Heard a lot of talk about him and moving forward with the offense.
I don't draft Tyler Higbee. I would draft Irv Smith Jr. before I draft Tyler Higbee. I think. And that's just me talking out of my ass because I don't know what I'm talking about right now. But on the surface, without looking into anything, I think I would draft Irv Smith before drafting a Tyler Higbee. And I mean, I'd rather the Muth. I'd rather Albert O. I think that's that Aaron loves some Tyler Higbee though.
No. You better be able to me. No.
I don't know if you can see my face, but you love Tyler Higbee. You love Tyler Higbee.
Favorite tight end in the NFL? Okay, I'm just curious.
Okay. Let's, for Aaron's sake, I'll end it with a wide receiver question, just because Amon-Ra St. Brown obviously finished really strong. Oh, look at Aaron. He looks beautiful now. Amon-Ra St. Brown finished the season very strong in fantasy for the Lions with Jared Goff being his quarterback. He's right now being drafted as the wide receiver 26, similar to what we were talking about with Darnell Mooney, who was being drafted as wide receiver 25. Amon-Ra St. Brown's right behind him at wide receiver 26. Do you think he will outperform that high-end wide receiver 3 value that we see him at, AJ?
I think he'll be right in there. He's gonna have to pick up where he left off to be able to fall off and fall into that era, in my perspective. I'm not excited that they added DJ Chark. Don't get me wrong. But I do believe when Jameson Williams gets in there, he's going to be dynamic. I don't think he's going to immediately take over. But I do see his game, his speed, the way he plays translating to the NFL and to this offense. And yes, Jared Goff is a not so great number 1 pick overall, but he is still a veteran quarterback. And Amon-Ra St. Brown did do this with Jared Goff last season. So I think he's talented, But I mean, it depends on how this offense clicks and if they can keep doing that consistently through the season. But I think he still falls into that high-end wide receiver 3.
Yeah, I think I'm in on this area for Amon-Ra St. Brown,
Right.
of like a high end or a very low end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3 value. Aaron, are you on board with that? No.
I don't think there's a chance in hell Amon-Ra St. Brown cracks a wide receiver 2 this year. With the additions that Detroit made, the running game being, I think, more impactful this year with Deandre Swift being healthy, hopefully the whole year. I think people forget just how good Amon-Ra St. Brown, how much volume he got the last 6 weeks of the year. This dude was seeing 12 targets a game the last 7 weeks of the year. Not going to happen. That is not sustainable throughout the entire year for me. I do anticipate Jameson Williams at some point to come in and play a role. Doesn't mean I think he's going to overtake Amon-Ra as some guy, but I just think the ball gets spread out a little bit more this year. I don't think down the stretch we saw something very weird. They were almost making a point to give Amon-Ra the ball every play. Like it was like on offense, like, oh, let's throw a 2-yard pass to Amon-Ra and let him run. Like I think it was more to get him comfortable, get him confident to go forward and being a good player. I think he's going to be a good player. I don't think he has as much fantasy success as he did last year. I look at him as a wide receiver 3, like flex option. You're probably going to play him every week just because of the upside that he has. Yeah. But it's still Detroit. He scored 5 touchdowns in his last 6 games. Probably not sustainable in Detroit. I'm sorry. That's a huge factor. So there's probably some regression there. But if you balance it out over the course of the season, there were games earlier in the season he was getting 7, 8 targets. That's the kind of games I expect from him more often. 6 catches, 70 yards. Maybe he gets into the end zone every once in a while. So wide receiver 3 flex for me. I think going at wide receiver 20, whatever he's going at, I think that's kind of high. I think that's a mindset of, oh shit, we saw this last year at the end of the season. He's going to be something special. I don't know.
It also might be until Jameson Williams gets there. It's Quintez Cephas, Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond, and DJ Chark.
Well, that's the thing that kind of makes it different for me for Amon-Ra this year, is that he has a little bit more competition. Even if we are not considering DJ Chark as the strongest of players, I do think he comes in and is a target for Jared Goff. I think DJ Chark is good enough to take targets away from Amon-Ra St. Brown. And like you said last season, Aaron, it almost seemed like they were force feeding him the ball. They were just giving it to him no matter what. He doesn't have just a Quintez Cephas or a Khalif Raymond as his wide receiver 2. He has some competent wide receivers next to him. And obviously when Jameson Williams comes back, it's a different story. But there's much more.
I don't think it's the wide receivers though. There's a direct correlation. When Deandre Swift went out, when Deandre Swift was in the game, the beginning part of the year, he was seeing 10 targets, 7 targets, 7 targets, 11 targets. He went out and got injured and was never quite healthy. The last 6 weeks of the year, when he went out, you see it. That's when Amon-Ra St. Brown started getting the uptick in targets, because he started taking those bubble screens, those out of the backfield plays that they were throwing to Deandre Swift early in the season. Those were now drawn up for an Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think that's his direct competition, because the outside guys is not where Amon-Ra St. Brown was getting his work. It was inside. It was out of the backfield. It was the bubble screens. And I think with Deandre Swift healthy, I think that's what's going to kind of cap his upside. And then you mentioned a competent receiver in DJ Chark. It's going to be harder for him to get the ball there. Then a Jameson Williams, a Tj Hawkinson that's going to start the year healthy, hopefully stay healthy and take targets away from him. He'll be good. I find it very hard to believe. Maybe he proves me wrong that he has stretches of the season where he's going 7 games like he had the end of last year. Those were insane wide receiver numbers. Like, you can look at the best wide receivers in football over the past 20 years. They weren't putting up numbers like that. It was insane.
Adam Thielen or Amon-Ra St. Brown?
I would take Adam Thielen.
I might take Amon-Ra. Man,
Duel.
For first 6 weeks of the season, I mean, he could have himself a little study stretch there, man. Like, it's possible. Him and Deandre Swift is that offense, and I mean, they are bringing back an entire healthy offensive line. I mean, Frank Ragnow being out last season was a pretty big deal. Like, that push from him is a little bit different. I mean, you're talking about Panay being a year better in the NFL too. Like,
they've got a top 5 offense in the league, offensive line in the league.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah, don't go that far.
Yeah.
They have a top 5. They have arguably a top 5 offense in the league when everyone is healthy. But good chatter, good talk about the NFC North. We'll be back again tomorrow morning for our final show of the week. Fun and Games Friday, hitting you hard, hitting you fast, hitting you fun. Okay.
Oh.
All right, that's it.